Welcome to the 100th episode of the 412 Double Play Podcast. I am, as always, your host, Michael Castrogano. With me, my co-host and Double Play partner, Ed Wassel. Ed, rough series in Milwaukee. Skeens nearly makes history in just a second career start. Potential blown call at the plate on Saturday. Nail biter in today's game. But I think the most important thing, happy 100 episodes. Did you think we would make it to 100 when we started this a little over 2 years ago?
No, not at all. I thought it might die down after, 2-3 months or something like that.
So it's 100, but it's not really 100 because we had the first year we did our 3 episodes of the top 30 prospects that weren't part of this. We had the episode in spring training I did last year with Justice De Los Santos at MLB.com. Had the Lost episode with Steve the 1 week where the audio just disappeared, and then episode 0. So this is really like 106. It's not even a big deal. We hit 100 weeks ago, honestly. But still exciting. It's a fun milestone. It's been something we've been having fun with overall. Did you get to watch the series this weekend? The Brewer series, I feel like each of those games, they kind of were what they were, but the Cubs series, and obviously we'll talk about that when we get to the weekly recap, but any broad overview thoughts on the Cubs series? Because this was a pitching battle, mostly on the part of the Pirates.
Yeah, I didn't catch any full games. I caught bits and pieces and mainly highlights. But as far as broad, I don't know. I just was thrilled with the Skeens game.
That was exciting. We're definitely going to talk about that in a second. But first, let's look at the transactions from this past week. Couple moves. We saw Josh Fleming get DFA'd on Tuesday. He had given up a couple runs on, I think, Monday's game, clearing a spot on the active roster for reliever Ryder Ryan. Bucks also optioned Quinn Priester back to Indy, called up Carmen Majinski, bolsters the bullpen, which had been laboring under the week-long 6-man rotation. They're now back to the 5-man rotation, 8-man bullpen. Roansy Contreras, previously DFA'd last Sunday. He was officially traded to the Los Angeles Angels for cash considerations. Gotta love getting those cash considerations in the transaction log. While Fleming cleared waivers Saturday, I believe. He was sent outright to Indy. Ed, over parts of 4 seasons in Pittsburgh, Rowe had a 4.83 ERA, 182.2 innings. Pretty poor showing for a once highly touted prospect. Did come up kind of young, obviously ran out of options. My question for you is, was his inability to perform with the Pirates a case where Cherington and company failed with talent evaluation, failure to develop the talent, or did they just not give him a long enough run to figure things out in the bigs?
I think the talent's definitely there, and I don't think they failed at evaluating said talent. But a huge part of baseball is mental, and it really just absolutely kills certain players' careers. And I think that was the case with him. I think he hit a real rough slump and just couldn't get out of it mentally. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it just wasn't. He wasn't able to get all his pitches to work. His slider at times looked really good in spring training, at least, but fastball was very hittable. I made a post yesterday or maybe this morning comparing Mitch Keller's first 3 years to Rowe's first 3 years, and it was a similar kind of level of output, but the organization was in a different position in 2021 when Keller was still struggling than they are now, and guys aren't going to get that kind of a leash anymore to figure things out.
Yeah.
So happy trails to him. I think that there couldn't be a worse landing spot for him trying to figure things out than the Angels, but maybe he will, and hope all the best for him over there. Weekly recap, jumping into it, starting the week in Milwaukee. Mitch Keller, another stellar start, 6 shutout frames, 8 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. Brian Reynolds, talked about him last week, broke right out. 5 for 5 night, including 2 doubles and a home run as the Bucks won 8-6. Game 2 had Priester on the bum. He struggled in the second inning, allowed 4 runs, did manage to bounce back, lasted 6 innings, 5 Ks, 2 walks. Unfortunately, a pair of homers by Nick Gonzalez and Connor Joe wasn't enough to overcome that deficit as the Pirates lost 4-3. And then final game of the series, Martin Perez pitched, and dude just didn't have it. He allowed 5 home runs, 9 total runs as the Brewers bulldozed the Bucks by a 10-2 score in the final game there. The heading to Chicago with some aces up our sleeve. Game 1 sent rookie phenom Jared Jones to face off against the Cubbies. Jones went 6 innings, 7 hit, 3-run ball, no walks, 7 strikeouts, while the offense was powered by home runs from Gonzalez and Edward Olivares as the Bucks won 5-4. Somehow, Jones's start would be the least effective one of the weekend for Pirates starting pitching because Game 2, Skeens making his second appearance for the Pirates, once again facing the Cubs, and all he did was strike out the first 7 batters he faced while pitching 6 innings of no-hit ball, allowing just a single walk and striking out 11 Cubs as the Bucks demolished Chicago 9-3. Home runs coming from Jared Triolo and Andrew McCutchen helping to lead the charge. And then Saturday, pitchers duel across the board. Both teams combined for a single hit over the first 6 frames. Bailey Falter squaring off against Shota Imanaga. The game was still scoreless going to the bottom of the 9th. David Bednar, he allowed a 1-out double to Cody Bellinger. And then Christopher Morel hit a single up the middle. Michael A. Taylor threw like a missile to catcher Joey Bart at home. It was a bit offline. Bart appeared to make the tag on Bellinger, attempting to score, but Belly's hand knocked the ball out after Bart made the exchange to show the ump, and then he was ruled safe. Pirates, of course, challenged it, and then they said the call was confirmed. Not the call in the field stands. Call was confirmed. Still baffled by it, but Cubs ended up beating the Bucks by that 1-0 score. And finally, the game today, Keller, another strong start, 6 more frames, 3rd straight game of having a quality start, 2-run ball. The Bucks went 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position, but pushed through runs on Nick Gonzalez RBI, single, and a Jack Sawinski solo home run to win the game 3-2, taking 3 of 4 in Chicago. Ed, I don't want to dwell on the Saturday game. I don't know if it's because I don't understand the rule well enough or if it's just annoying. And obviously, the team needs to score a run before you get to the bottom of the 9th. So it's more on the offense than just that one single play. But seeing a lot of people on social media, including former guest of the show and former manager of the Pirates, Clint Hurdle, lambasting calls at the plate because video of that infamous 2011 19-inning affair that ended on a blown call resurfacing. Not going to dwell on it, but how important is winning 3 of 4 against a division rival like the Cubs, who many are predicting to win the NL Central this early in the season, knowing that we're not going to face them again until August?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters who you're playing. If you can take 3 of 4, that's huge. Being that it's someone in the division, it just helps up that much more, whether you're, extending the gap between you and them in the standings or just closing that gap. And also, it proves that you can hang within your division. Beating up on, crap teams from other divisions it feels good, but it doesn't really show a lot.
And even in the Brewers series, the last game obviously didn't go well. Perez was just didn't have it, but won the first one, hung in there in the second one, in the Priester start. So they didn't get any offense going on Saturday, but overall, pitching, hitting, did okay this weekend. The problem with, leaving some runners in scoring position has been a recurring issue and was really bad today. But they did well enough that they were able to get the win. And at the end of the season, when you're just looking at the record, you're not going to check runners in scoring position, especially if we somehow have a winning record by the end of it. Not there yet, but maybe soon. All right. So looking down on the farm before we get into our special, Indianapolis hosting the Toledo Mud Hens, split the series 3-3. Matt Gorski, top prospect whom we've been fond of, exploded this week. 3 home runs, 2 doubles, and a triple, while Henry Davis back in Indy launched 3 long balls of his own this past week. Indy holds a 20-22 record. Hopefully, both those guys heating up and maybe getting to see Gorski up here at some point. Altoona at Akron Rubber Ducks dropped 4 of 6 in the series. Big thing this week, though, Braxton Ashcraft pitched 2 games totaling 10 innings, 8 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 14 strikeouts. Downer news, Bubba Chandler was removed from his start on Saturday. He has lain on the IL with reported forearm discomfort, which is never good. You kind of know what that's kind of trending towards. Nothing obviously confirmed yet, but something to keep an eye on as the curves slide to 10-29 on the year. Greensboro at the Hickory Crawdads. Charles McAdoo, I feel like I'm talking about him constantly, continues to crush high A ball. 3 extra base hits this past week, 409, 458, 682 slash line. And Derek Diamond had perhaps his best start for the Hoppers. 5 shutout frames, allowing just 3 hits, no walks, and striking out 5. Greensboro is now 23-16. And finally, Bradenton at Tampa Tarpons. Tarpons are a good team. Bradenton's been on a hot streak lately, but they lost 4 of 6 this week. Catcher Axel Plaz, a big riser, big name guy, at least last year in spring training, was crushing the ball. Finally gets promoted to Bradenton, immediately made his mark, 2 home runs in just 10 at-bats this week, while Michael Kennedy struck out 7 Tarpons in his start, going 5 innings, allowing 2 runs. Marauders dropped to 17-22 record on the season. Ed, there's never a good time for a pitcher to have a reported forearm issue. Certainly not someone like Bubba Chandler, who is, now that we've got Skeens up, now that we've got Jones up, Chandler's one of the guys who you're saying, okay, he might be the top pitching prospect who hasn't debuted yet. Is it better for a prospect, if he does head down that path, to have surgery when he's still in AA, still hasn't debuted yet, or once he has debuted and gotten that taste? We had the situation last year, a little bit further along with Mike Burrows last year, but is that going to significantly delay? Obviously it will. Is it going to significantly delay their ability to get to the major leagues?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I don't know. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when you asked, is it better pre-debut or post? I mean, at least if they were on he's not on the major league roster and you're not losing a year of control, basically. So
Right.
That's a plus. I don't know if it's better to have that injury at the AAA level, AA level. I really don't have an answer.
There's never a good time for it to happen. It's really because Bubba Chandler's got good stuff. It hasn't been showing up this year. He was, I think he walked like the first 5 batters or something. His control was all over the place. But there's clearly something wrong, and that something wrong might be the thing we all think it is. But I don't know. I think back to like last year, Burrows, and he's hopefully going to come up this year, hopefully going to have that ability. Chandler doesn't need to be added to the major league roster for Rule 5 purposes until after the 2025 season, I believe. So he's got a little bit of time. There's not like a rush for that, not an issue.
No, but he won't pitch again until 2025.
Exactly.
Potentially.
So, if that's the case. So we're hoping all the best for him because, again, he's one of the guys. Tramar Johnson's been struggling this year. He's been struggling. Solomedo's been – a lot of the top prospects are not doing well. I know you don't follow it as closely as I do. I mostly follow it because I've got so many great podcasts like Craig Toth at Bucks in the Basement. He's got his weekly minor leagues news and brews. So I get to follow up on that. Murph and Nola have their podcast, and Murph's posting stuff. So I get a bunch of fun information, even if I can't catch too many of the games. But yeah, you got to hope that he's able to bounce back from whatever the issue is. Any other thoughts on this past week, either the Brewer series, the Cub series, or minor league before we jump into our special?
Only other thing really would be if Davis is bat heating back up. I mentioned earlier about
Finally, right?
the game being so like, what did Yogi Berra say? I think baseball's 90% mental or something like that.
Yeah, and like 20% physical.
Yeah, I never said his math was good, but getting down there and regaining his confidence could be huge, and maybe another mid-season call up, late season call up, and he can string it together. I mean,
yeah,
it was looking pretty scary with him continuing to struggle for the first, week or two when he was first sent down.
We all knew he had that potential in him. He's hit at every level. He was drafted because of his bat, and being a catcher full time, playing that many games, he kind of got rushed a bit to the major leagues. And so now he's got that time to be able to go back and refocus on his craft. So him being able to heat back up, I agree. It's really good to see. He's also hitting for a pretty solid average. I don't have the numbers pulled up right now, but it's promising. You definitely want to see someone like that bounce back and be able to get back to the major leagues at some point. My big takeaway is the Pirates, their starting pitching over that 4 game stretch, they allowed 5 earned runs from their starting rotation. And that was 25 2/3 innings pitched over the 4 game set this weekend. Like, just dominant. Jones with the 6 innings, 3 runs, Skeens 6 shutout innings. Falter somehow going like 7 2/3, and then 6 2 for Keller today. Just crazy. And then Perez isn't bad, but if you're saying he's your 5 right now, okay. Right? The rotation's pretty great. It's interesting. I don't know. It's exciting, to say the least. Hopefully the offense can bounce back. But I'm going to jump right into the special for this week. And it's a question I actually posed to a friend of the show, Gary Morgan, over at Steel City. And that's, is the 2024 Pirates club better than last year? This organization is entering year 5 of the rebuild. They've preached consistently during the offseason and directly to fans at Pirates Fest about contending for the division, playing meaningful games this fall, and making a postseason run. Now, early on last year, we thought the objective might have been the same as the team raced to a 20-8 start, only to fumble the ball with a 56-78 record the rest of the way, which included a downright dismal stretch of games. They posted a 21-46 record from April 30th through July 18th. Now, overall, the 23 squad overperformed in their start. They underperformed their summer and maybe kind of found themselves that last month or so. But while that team finished 76-86, a respectable improvement from the 100-loss season which preceded it, expectations are loftier this time around. And the question remains, is the 2024 team substantially improved from the 23 one? Enough that postseason chances are on the horizon. There are days when it feels like it's not, but there are areas where they look vastly improved. For instance, the rotation. Last year, we started the season with Mitch Keller, Rich Hill, Vince Velasquez, Johan Oviedo, and Roansy Contreras, some veterans who have not been good, a pair of pitchers still trying to figure out who and what they were, and Keller hoping to build on his previous half season of success. Now, only Keller remains, with Oviedo on the injured list, and he's supplemented with 2 of the most exciting pitching prospects in MLB, with Jared Jones and Paul Skeens, a veteran in Martin Perez, and a surprisingly resilient Bailey Falter. These arms won't dominate every game, but they can go into any match with the potential to put the team in position to win. The position players, while we have many holdovers on offense who have been producing, with Brian Reynolds, Andrew McCutchen, and Connor Joe, the offseason additions of Edward Olivares, Michael Taylor, Yasmani Grandal, and Rowdy Tellez have provided some mixed results for the offense, replacing Austin Hedges, Yoshi Tsutsugo, Carlos Santana. Some other names that we probably want to forget, as we had a slew of both infield and outfield options used at different points last year. Go play the Sporkle quiz if you want to figure out who they are. We've seen steps back from some bats, namely Jack Sawinski and Jared Triolo, but a full season of O'Neill Cruz is starting to round into shape, providing positive production from the shortstop spot in the lineup, which was sorely lacking in 2023. Finally, the bullpen. This was a part which seemed to be a strength for the team heading into this year and has been a struggle on the whole, posting a 4.43 ERA and ranking 23rd in all of MLB coming into today, April 19th, after holding a 4.27 mark last year. We've seen early season struggles from David Bednar and off-season acquisition Aroldis Chapman, while losing crucial bullpen arms to injury early on in Dari Moreta and Ryan Barucki. But remember, last year saw a not insignificant amount of innings thrown by Cody Bolton, Dwayne Underwood Jr., Colin Selby, Chase DeYoung, and Rob Zastryzny, each providing negative or negligible value for the team. The rose-tinted glasses overlook the glaring issues presented from last year, and the pessimism of the fan base, who has been promised the moon and the stars only to get sun-aged milk year in and year out, will also lament what they have over what they had. It's hard to appreciate the good things in the moment, while the offense needs to get more production from certain spots. The bullpen needs more consistency from the back end, but overall, it's pretty clear to see that there is improvement. Whether or not it leads to October baseball on the north side this year, we'll just have to wait and see. Ed, I know you love when I monologue, but comparing the 2023 season to 2024, do you feel like they are greatly improved, mildly improved, or not improved at all? Or even worse?
I'm going to go with improved. I don't even know if it would quite hit the mildly improved mark, but they are improved. I think the starting rotation is much better just from a talent standpoint. You mentioned Rich Hill. Velasquez, he was doing fine until he got hurt. But, no Rowe. And we have two of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball. Actually, I guess Jones isn't a prospect anymore, but.
I mean, yeah, but.
Yeah. Like, what? I'm just trying to imagine what this would look like with a healthy Oviedo as, like, your number 4, which is ridiculous.
I mean, if we had Oviedo, I don't think we would have seen Skeens, or we might not have seen Jones out of spring training.
Potentially.
Hard to say. Velasquez, 37.1 innings last year, 3.86 ERA, 1.31 WHIP. So he was fine in his appearances, but it was short-lived. He was pretty much out for. When did he get injured? May? I think he made one start in June or July. Yeah. So
going to the bullpen, I think it's more talented this year. I don't know what the main issue is.
I will say, and I was looking this up earlier, David Bednar, his strikeout rate is a little bit down from last year, but his walk rate is also down a little bit. Like his numbers across the board they're not super different from his career norms. So it's not, and the velocity is not down. He's just, whether it's an issue of location or executing pitches, he's just kind of been a weird struggle. Expected values kind of have him improving from here. 8.31 ERAs. That's what he was at coming into today. Let me see if that's updated. Yeah, his expected ERA is 5.18, which I know is still not great, but it's improved from 8. And then fielding independent pitching of 4.18, xFIP of 3.71. Just take those numbers, whatever you want to do with them. I know it's kind of meaningless just in a vacuum, but he's going to bounce back. The stuff's still there. He's going to get more effective eventually. He's also had really bad batted ball luck. Opponents have a 340 batting average against him on balls in play. His career mark is 299, and his strand rate is horrible, 43.9% of batters stranded, while his career rate is 73.1. So balls are getting through more often, and the guys who do get on base aren't staying there.
Yep.
All right. Well, hopefully we're going to have some more fun stuff coming up this week, as it was announced that the Pirates Hall of Fame class will be announced on Tuesday, March 21st. I don't know if it's before, during the game, but the first year in 2022 made up of some obvious names: Stargell, Clemente, Honus Wagner, Maz, among others. Last year, they had a four-man class consisting of some strong players who mostly were still alive at the time: Dick Groat, Elroy Face, Teak, and Bob Friend, whose widow accepted in his stead. But Ed, your predictions, if any, on who will join the 23 men in the Pirates Hall of Fame currently ahead of this year's announcement?
Well, I think it's going to be I think from here on out it'll continue to be like a small class, maybe between 1 and 4. I would like if they picked some players that are currently still living, so they can actually be honored and not have someone else have to accept it on their behalf.
Sure.
I thought Manny Sanguine would be a good player to get in this year. I know we talked earlier and you thought it would be more of like just an honor, not necessarily on field accomplishments, but I looked up, I think he was like top 20 in RBIs, like top 20 in hits. It's like number 23 in another category, possibly average. I don't remember which one it was.
But
He's a member of a couple World Series teams. So it's like,
he was on the 71 and 79 clubs.
So he's got some stats to go along with it. Not saying there aren't some better players, or God knows the stats from the 20s and 30s, because I know I don't.
I mean, he was, because keep in mind, catchers weren't like the greatest hitters back then, but he, in 12 years with the Pirates, 2 stints, he was a 299, 323, 403 hitter, a 733 OPS. His OPS plus was 105. And like you mentioned, runs and RBIs, 527 RBI with the Pirates, and 524 runs. So, I mean, that's not an insignificant amount. He received MVP votes 4 times. That's pretty impressive. And was a 3-time All-Star for what that's worth. But he was part of some very good Pirates teams.
Yeah, he wasn't. You got to think about the guys he played with. Maybe he wasn't asked to do a lot of things. You know what I mean?
And then
there's stories about Clemente where how he wasn't a huge. I don't want to say he wasn't a huge home run hitter, but there was years where he didn't hit a ton, and it was just because he didn't have to. And when they came to him and said, "Hey, next year you got to work on getting some more power," he would hit 45 because he can do whatever he wanted to do with the ball when it was coming towards him.
I don't know off the top of my head that that's false, but there's no way Clemente ever hit 45 home runs in a year.
Oh, I might have made that up, but I'm going to look it up anyway.
Okay. He maxed at 29 and 66.
Really?
Yep.
What did he hit the year prior?
10.
Yeah. So he improved by 19.
What was his MVP year? 66 was his MVP year. He hit 29 and won the MVP. That's funny. All right.
He also
my
played
on,
in a freaking giant field those years.
Yeah. Yeah, Forbes is huge. my thought behind Manny being more honorary is because he's had his Manny's barbecue, I think, for the entire time that we've had PNC Park. Like, he's just been a mainstay. He's still there at games sometimes, so we get to see him occasionally when we're at the park. He's getting up there in years. How old is he now? 80. Oh, he's 80. Yeah, just turned 80 2 months ago. So it's getting a little bit more difficult, but I wouldn't be opposed to that. I love Manny. I feel like if anyone deserved to be in that who's still around, it's him. I went the other way. I don't know if you have any other names in mind for the Hall of Fame.
That was the only one I really came up with.
So my thought are some guys like last year they honored the guys who are still alive. I'm thinking they're going like super old, just making sure that they're recovering their bases with Wilbur Cooper, who is the all-time wins leader in Pirates history with 202. He's got a career 274 ERA, 120 ERA plus, 13 years with the Pirates, third most strikeouts in Pirates histories with 1,191, behind only Bob Friend, who's already in the Hall, and Bob Veal, who also potentially should be in the Hall. I think he was part of one of the World Series teams. I don't remember which one off the top of my head. I think the 1907 one. But like the amount of, and he's also one of the top ones in innings. So it's like, okay, just give it to Wilbur Cooper. Just a stupid amount. 53.4 WAR. It's kind of silly that he's not in the Hall of Fame, period. Not just Pirates Hall of Fame. Like, dude just had a career. And I'm biased 100%, but and my other one is Chuck Tanner. So he's also from a while ago, no longer with us, behind already inaugurated former managers Fred Clark and Danny Murtaugh. Tanner's the winningest manager in Pirates history to guide the team to a World Series title. He's got 711 career wins, leading the Pirates. It's fifth most behind also Clint Hurdle and Jim Leland, who also potentially will get inaugurated at some point. But you know, he's got his regular Hall of Fame one this year, so who knows?
Yeah, why not all three of those players? That's still a small class.
It's still a small class. And I think it would kind of start making amends with that. Like I said, Bob Veal, I think Babe Adams could be someone considered. I feel like they don't have enough of the like really old pitchers in there. So we got to dig in on a lot of that when I was coming up with that trivia for Pirates Fest. But who knows? I'm excited to see it. I'm definitely going to be watching on Tuesday, see who they come up with. But Tuesday is going to start a series at home with a 3-game set against the Giants, followed by a 3-game weekend series against the Atlanta Braves. One of those series is far more intimidating than the other. And with the Giants series, we got a lot of TBDs for their starting rotation because Kyle Harrison, I think, just landed on the injured list last week. And they have not yet decided who the starting pitchers are for some of those games. Right now, it looks like it's going to be Logan Webb facing off against Martin Perez in Game 1, but then TBDs for the Giants against Jared Jones in Game 2 and Paul Skeens in Game 3. And Giants, I think I saw recently that they are just a horrible team on the road. Let me just get the exact stats on this up. 8 and 15 away from. What's up?
I said, yeah, bring up those stats.
Okay. They're 8 and 15 away from what's their home park? Oracle? Yeah, I think it is. 8 and 15 away from their home park. It is third worst in the National League, behind the Rockies, who are 6 and 19 away from Coors, and Miami, who is 7 and 15 outside of South Beach. So your thoughts, especially given those pitchers, and we don't know who the Giants are going to serve up there, but at least Jones and Skeens, they're both gonna potentially put you in position for a win.
Yeah, that's kind of what I went to instantly was knowing that Jones and Skeens are going to be two of the pitchers. It's very encouraging. uh, I don't even know anybody on the Giants at this point.
As far as their offense,
Yeah,
I guess it's been a couple weeks since we faced them. It was late last month. I mean, they've got Matt Chapman, but they've had a number of injuries. What's his name? Jung-Hoo Lee. He's on the injured list. Oh, he's on the 60-day IL. Just got transferred to the 60-day today or yesterday. I feel like they've got other guys on the IL. I'm gonna have to look to see who they have here. Okay, that's not Nick Ahmed. They've got minor leaguers showing for this. Like Will Bednar's on the 7-day IL for them. God, remember when we thought we could get Will Bednar? That would have been something.
I do remember that.
But I think they've got a number of other injuries that have plagued them lately. But it's like Matt Chapman, Lamont Wade Jr. What's on their offense? Tyro Strada. Michael Conforto. He's doing okay. He's batting .280. And Jorge Soler got 5 home runs. Yeah, Conforto's got 7 home runs. Like, yeah, it's not going to be a super deep lineup. There's definitely places where they can be exposed. But, Logan Webb's a good pitcher. He's got a 3.03 ERA, even with a 1.35 whip. Your predictions for the series?
I think that Perez is going to bounce back, and we're going to sweep.
Oh, dang. I love that because I'm thinking if Perez is facing Logan Webb on Tuesday, that the announcements with the Hall of Fame class might get them extra energized. Also, this weekend series against the Cubs, I feel like it might get a little bit softened because we've got the off day for the 20th, but I think they're going to be extra amped for it overall. I hope so. It's definitely exciting. But this weekend series, I might need you to confirm what these matchups are because I think I've got them outdated. I've got Ronaldo Lopez, who's supposed to pitch today, and then he got bumped to tomorrow because of a rain out. So I've got TBDs listed on MLB.com. Who would that end up being then?
Yeah, jeez.
Well, we've got Bailey Falter going in game 1. And then Mitch Keller in game 2. Okay, so it's going to be Keller versus Ronaldo Lopez in game 2. And Friday's going to be Brad Elder? Bryce Elder. I don't know who Brad Elder is. Bryce Elder in game 1 against Falter. Ronaldo Lopez on Friday against Mitch Keller. And then Chris Sale going Sunday, matchup of Southpaws as he's going to take on Martin Perez. Braves are a good team, is how I'm going to phrase that right now. And some of their guys haven't even gotten really hot yet. Ronald Acuna Jr. is hitting 247. Orlando Arcia is hitting 243. Matt Olson's hitting 227 with only 5 home runs. But 1, that team can heat up at any moment. And 2, they're dangerous even if they're not hitting consistently. Like Marcell Ozuna has 12 home runs. Let's see. A lot of those guys can hit for power at any point in time. Pretty much any of them. Didn't they have 8 guys hit 20-plus home runs last year?
It was something ridiculous like that, yeah.
And I think they're returning almost all of them. But your predictions for the weekend series, which I think will probably be more challenging than the one preceding it.
Yeah. God, I just hate that lineup so much. I hate facing it. I would love it if it was our lineup.
That's a tough lineup.
Like you said, that a lot of their stars haven't really been strong thus far. Really got to hope that those struggles continue. But I'm feeling like maybe I'll say 1 win. Probably go 1-2.
I think if you win 2 of 3 against the Giants and then 1 of 2 or 1 of 3 against the Braves, you're going to feel okay about that. Although September last year, whenever we faced the Braves at home last year, I feel like we didn't sweep them, but I think we won 2 of 3 or 3 of 4 in that late series. I have to go back and check the numbers on that, but
I do remember, I believe it was that series when I talked about not wanting to face Strider, and they ended up pummeling him.
yeah. Darn it, we're not going to get to face them this time around.
Yeah, maybe we'll have that same kind of luck where I'm just so pessimistic and they come out and absolutely scorch.
All right. Well, I think we're both saying 1 and 2 on the weekend. You're calling for a sweep against the Giants. That'd be exciting to see. I am not going to lie about that. But for the 100th time officially, that wraps it up for all of us here at the 412 Double Play podcast. Follow me on X, 412 Double Play, @_Wassel. Continue listening to the show, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever else podcasts can be found. Subscribe to get notified when we drop our new episodes. Check out the articles at steelcity.com. The link's in the description. I will have the series preview for the Giants series ahead of the game on the 21st on Tuesday. So definitely check that out. As always, thank you for checking out the show. It's just been a blast doing this for the past 100 episodes. Plus, whatever, the lost episodes and such. From all of us here at the 412 Double Play podcast, thank you again for joining us this week, and let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
Take it away, Sawyer.
Lady Jolly Roger, dude.
Always fun.